He's been working with the web for a very, very, very long time.
You can say that again.
First as the founder and CEO of trailblazing digital agency Frantic, and now as innovation director at Hyun Digital. His work, ideas, and concepts have shaped hundreds of digital services worldwide and have been recognized in international awards such as the Webbies and Europrix. Please welcome Sami Häkkinen.
Thank you. Today, I put myself into painted into a corner. I'm trying to go through 30 years of internet and web in a 40-minute presentation. So let's how we will go through that. So this is me and the introduction. Thank you for that. So I think when I was creating this presentation, this came out more or less as a love letter to internet from my part. I've been working on the web, doing digital for whole my adult life, and this is the a bit of a distillation of that. The last quote here is one of my friends was like, she was saying like, hey, who should I call to the person who she knows that loves the internet the most? And she called me. So that's me. I've done quite a long time, quite a lot of stuff over the internet and on the web. But doing different stuff through different decades, I see this is an interesting a stage where we are in the development of the web, of the internet, of everything that we see. And of course, I think this is the talk of every day nowadays. And this was a news article in The Economist, published like this June or this July. And this did some thinking for me, or actually I became quite curious on the subject. So this is a topic that has been rising with our clients. We've had a lot of discussions, I guess all of we have across the industry, that hey, what is happening to the web? Is AI killing the web? And this is, of course, a headline that tries to get clicks, but this got me thinking. So where we are now, what has happened in the past, and what happens to our dear web in the future? That's something that I'm trying to at least solve for myself today. Hopefully for everybody else as well. So these are some of the headlines as well that we've been seeing quite a lot in the past year. Google's AI previews, Google's AI modes. Does it kill website? Does it kill the industry? Then on the other hand, Google said, no, this is all good. So this is the a reality that we are in. And of course, we at Hyun, we work with over 100 different clients, and we see a lot of different sites out there. The a current situation that different sites and different clients are affected differently. But of course, this is a thing that we need to address. So I guess this is the key question of this presentation. So is the web actually dead, or do we just have to reimagine it a bit? As we see, there's been a lot of, during the presentation, there's a lot of different stages of web that we have had, and now we are in one stage. And the browser around these two icons gives you a glimpse, or it's meant to say that when I talk about the web, I talk about stuff that we can find inside a browser. So that's a bit of a distinction here. So this is what we're actually today, or what I've been thinking over the last couple of months. So if we look in the past, of course, this is where it all started, 1990, 1991, at CERN, Sir Tim Berners-Lee creating the first website ever. And looking back, it was in 1990, first produced and then put public in 1991. So if we look at the whole span of the web, it's only a bit over 30 years old, and the commercial internet is only 30 years old. A lot has happened, but as an industry, it's quite not that kind of old yet. If we look at the stages of the web and where actually this is not the first rodeo of people saying or claim that the web is dead. If we look at the different stages of the web and where those claims were kind of done in the past, it looks something like this. So we first had the web 1.0, yes, and in the 90s. Let's have a small audience participation kind of a past here. Everybody raise your hands who were doing the web in the 90s. Cool, quite a lot. so there's kindred spirits definitely here. And then kind of the Web 2.0 came of course after that, the first decade of this century. And these are the kind of we can quite well see that these were actual kind of development stages. It gets a bit murkier after that, how these are depicted. Is it the mobile web? I guess that's a good kind of a chapter for the 2010s. And then is it cloud web? Is it interactive web? Is it the smart web? That's of course up for debate. But the sad phases here, they more or less try to depict the places and the kind of points of time when people claim that the web is dead. The first one, of course, the boo.com, which kind of illustrates the .com era burst when everybody was doing happily sites, and then there were a lot of expectations, IPOs and all that. That bubble burst in 2000. And the next kind of a phase, it was 2004 when Facebook came around. That created a lot of discussions. At least I know a couple of cases where a couple of clients just kind of deleted their website and say, hey, we are on Facebook from now on, and that didn't go too well. The next part was, of course, 2007, the advent of the smartphone with the applications. It was like, well, the traditional web is dead. You don't need websites. We are all using applications. To a certain extent, that actually kind of came true, but if it was an addition, it was not just wiping things off. And I put a sad face around the Web 3 thing. It wasn't such a big kind of a claim of that, hey, this will wipe out the traditional web, but of course there were some talks about that. But if we look at the whole span, the different decades where we had internet, I think one thing is super clear, is that the open web, the open internet is more or less a miracle. If we look at from now where we are in this political climate, that these things have happened and we still access the web openly, freely with our browsers, actually that is pretty miracle, or miraculous in a sense. So that kind of proves that the web is not easily kind of made obsolete. It stands this test of time. And of course, we can claim that the web is dead or it will be dead, but there's a lot of resilience on the open internet and on the web. This is a picture of a secret sauce. Don't make anything else out of it. I was thinking about the what's the secret sauce of the web? Why still we can kind of access after 30 years time? I think there's a lot of things around here. So of course, the open standards, no single owner. To me, and then looking at actually it's a nice vantage point or vintage point from 2025 is that the mini internets never took off. Of course, we have kind of a bit of walled gardens on TikToks and all that, but it's semi-miraculous that we have the open standards and the open internet. Of course, decentralized architecture, that's for sure, and the adaptability and the continuous evolution, I think that kind of proves the point that how resilient the web is. Of course, when the mobile came, the responsive design, all of that, it took a bit time, but it came. It kind of took off. So there's a lot of kind of adaptation going on there. And I think looking at this, the fourth point, the cultural and historical kind of importance in a sense, that is nothing to kind of be frowned upon. With Wayback Machine, we can go back to history. We can see how at least the internet life was back in the days, and that's quite important. In kind of where everything is stored in pixels and data nowadays, the MySpaces and Vines and different applications, they're just kind of being taken off the grid. And through open internet and through kind of let's say, Wayback Machines, we can go back. We can see how it has evolved. And of course, we can say that the open web and the open internet really has had quite a cultural importance and in a historical context as well. So there's a lot of secret sources that why we have still the web. And these are just a couple of them. But where are we now? It's been over 30 years, and it's good to look at where we are actually now on the internet. This, as said, has been, at least I've been kind of discussing this thing quite a lot. And if we look at the state of the web, in a sense, and looking at how we are kind of proceeding, is the amount of websites growing or the amount of kind of index pages growing? This gives kind of varied results. These are the two graphs from Netcraft and from World Wide Web. What was it? worldwidewebsites.com, stating that we still have 200 million websites and billions of course, index pages on the internet. But what we can see is the trend. It's a bit stagnating. So there haven't been that much growth, at least to these sources, around how many sites we have on the internet. And that makes sense. It's the feeling, in a sense. Is the progress made on the internet nowadays, or is it kind of stagnating a bit? And if we, of course, look at Google CEO has said that in the past 2 years, the amount of indexed pages has increased. And of course, there are certain reasons to that. So there are these kind of contradictory things going on around the internet as well. So is the state of web, state of internet, state of websites, is it all good? As we kind of make from these statistics. If we look at the internet use web traffic globally, we all know that majority of that happens on the mobile nowadays. So it's around 60% mobile, 40% desktop. If we take the mobile use, time spent there, look at the numbers, they vary a bit differently. So when we are on our phones, we use around 90% of that time using applications and 10% of using browsers. So that's the kind of I think the question and the hurdle in a sense is that this is going to the application way more, and then of course the use of browsers less. So how are we accessing the open internet in the future is the question. Is it kind of through browsing, through browsers, or via applications? And the state, in a sense, when I was thinking about it, it's this is more or less how I perceive things, and I came up with 3 different kind of distinctions. Is that how I use the web, how I feel about the web, and then of course looking at how people around the internet kind of are looking at. The first thing actually that came to my mind was a bit boring. So if we browse around the internet, is it exciting? Where's the progress being made? And of course we have a lot of cool websites, but they kind of look the same. This is from Wix.com, of course. You can do this on WordPress.com and different sites. So we use templates a lot. We use different different methods to create websites in a kind of a in a quick, well, not in a quick, but in an efficient manner. And I think, does that serve the purpose of the future? So, and with material designs, with design systems, do we actually create more of the same? Does this create excitement? Does this get us back to browsers? Browsing the internet is the cool thing in the applications. These are the things that I've been, thinking about lately quite a lot. And of course, it's not just the web. It's the digital, in a sense. Everything looks a bit same. And I think this is something that we could take as a task as the community creating and designing these things is looking at this. What do we do? How do we design? How do we implement? Do we create? How we make things exciting again? As you can see, if you use Airbnb or Instagram or Apple Music, it all looks quite the same. The question I was asking myself, and I'm asking you as well, when was the last time you were browsing the internet with your browser and you were like, oh, that looks like a killer website, and this is something, this is super, super exciting to me. I don't know if I've been browsing at the kind of on the wrong sites, but this is a bit more of the feel that I've gotten kind of lately. This was just a super random site from our company's Slack, and then this is something that I kind of it's me being quite old. This is what I kind of a bit crave. So this is Travel to Love Quest, super random site. But the thing that got my attention was the YouTube player embed on the left-hand corner, and I was like, you can embed YouTube players like that, kind of in a horizontal, well, in a tilted fashion. I was like, oh, that's cool. So that's more or less. That is the feeling that I would like to have more on the web. You can go check out the site. It's more or less this. So with a 15-minute YouTube video playing in that cave player. So I think that kind of speaks a bit to itself. Of course, everything is not this bland, but we could have more fun, I guess. And if we look at if it's boring, I think one of the things is that is it hollow? I guess today also a lot of things about bots and AI created content is is it going to be an echo chamber of AI created content, echo chamber of AI bots? I think that is one question. So this was a study, 74% of new web pages include AI content. That's of course how things are today. but is it us? Is it serving us, the people using the web? Does it create excitement? Let's do more of the Travolta things, I guess. And this caught my eye a couple of weeks ago. If we look at the future, going to the future a bit, how the internet or the people who should be making the internet and the web in the future, how they spend their times nowadays. So this is a screen time breakdown of a US teen. Of course, they use their mobiles, watching TVs and videos, do a lot of gaming. And of course, there's the browsing of websites. That kind of felt good that it's like 50 minutes of a day. But I think the last bit here, the content creation. How do the teens, US teens, European teens in the world, how they create stuff? And it's not that everybody should be making, or probably should be making, websites in their spare time. But I think it's the kind of a platform for creativity, how people kind of express themselves nowadays. And that's, of course, doing videos, shooting kind of images and sharing them online. So I think that is one thing to keep in mind, how we keep the grassroots of web. I think that's where all the good stuff more or less has come. How do we kind of ensure that it's not an echo chamber in the future, or it's not a kind of a barren land? So how to make the grassroots green again? I think this is my old man's question for this afternoon. But as said, the web is super resilient. And of course, it's not all doom and gloom. A couple of kind of weird and fun things. I think it's fun that email is cool again. So the advent of Substacks, for instance, it's a kind of a bit of a sign of resilience as well. Substack was going to launch in 2017, has had its heyday for a couple of years now, and now there are millions of people kind of gaining some money out of content that they create on Substack. And this is a fun reminder of that. Hey, the web is there. It has the potential. We probably should not just need to kind of look at it a bit differently and use the tools a bit differently. And of course, when we were thinking about and discussing the open architectures and all that, there's on that side development as well. ActivityPub is kind of a protocol that lets us share social media posts and content kind of between different social media. And of course, as we are in Finland, we are quite big on open source. This kind of warms my heart, the open internet heart, in the sense that, hey, there's development on this front as well. But yes, now we've kind of gone through a lot of kind of time traveling, and of course, looking in the future. What does the future entail for web and for the open internet? So these were the stages that we've kind of gone through. I guess the last 5 years, what we should depict it, how should we call it, that's a bit murky. And here are some kind of suggestions from ChatGPT and myself, that what should we call the next phase of the web and internet? Is it intelligent? Is it sentient already? Does it know what we kind of what we think? But I came up with the kind of a title of conversational web. And I think that this is me, and of course, people we work with. This is the kind of our understanding of where we are heading to as the next wave of web. As said, we all know from the not just the kind of news, but we can see that the search engine, AI previews, AI modes, then people kind of are more chatting on ChatGPTs and all that. It has resulted in declining number of human visitors to websites. There are, as seen, a lot of bots and all that kind of knocking on the doors. But this is the future in a sense. We have websites, less people will be visiting them. But how does that then make the role of a certain website? What kind of a role does it play in the great scheme of things? Of course, it will be a reliable source of information. AI will use it, scraping it, asking questions. And if we say that less people will be visiting websites, it doesn't mean that it's obsolete, by no means. It just means that the people coming to the sites will be better informed. They probably have had a lot of chats. They can be kind of directed from AI previews and ChatGPTs to the site, so they are better informed and they expect more from the experience. Of course, personalization has been quite difficult to create on the web, and I think this is something that needs to take into look. And of course, what ChatGPTs and AI previews, what they can't give you. They can't give you access to other people. And I think that is something that we need to take into account when we are thinking, designing and creating websites in the future, that, hey, there were communities on a lot of sites. I remember I've been kind of involved in quite a few of them, but there was the question of moderation. How can we kind of via websites give access to other people's opinions or other experts, for instance? That's something that the AI can't do. We've devised kind of a couple of different new modes. Well, not new modes, but kind of I guess a bit elevated modes to the website. And definitely we've been thinking this for quite some time, and we see that on the web, the browsing, the graphic user interface will be there. But the conversational part will come in addition. And that's definitely, we need to take that, well, not for granted, but we need to take that into consideration. That's how 800 people already use the internet in a sense. They talk to ChatGPTs, so there's probably 1 billion people out there using those things. And they want to do that on the websites as well. On top of that, we've been thinking about kind of different methods. If we look at how the sites now with WordPress, for instance, have been done, it's a lot of kind of a clicking still. How about kind of presenting things in a more algorithmic way? Should we kind of create also templates for creating kind of a scrolling UXs? Is that a thing? And then the connect, having access to people. How about that? This is a mock-up of how these could look on a website in the future. How do we actually create the conversations? How do we create the conversational UXs of the future? And how do we integrate to the idea of a website? So these are mock-ups of that. I firmly believe that is it this UX or is it not? But we need to kind of incorporate the conversation. We need to incorporate that to the whole experience, or otherwise the websites and the kind of open internet in that sense, it won't kind of render to be obsolete, but we need to fight a bit to make it more interesting and to make it more relevant for the kind of current users. So coming kind of to the end parts of the presentation, I guess we can conclude that the the web doesn't kill AI. The websites won't they won't matter anymore. But I think we need to clear our caches in a sense to reimagine a bit what it is. What's the concept of the website in 2025 and in the future? How can we adopt new ways into these? There aren't design patterns for these in material design toolkits. They're not design they are not a clear-cut things. We need to create things as we go. But definitely we can do it. We've done it before, and we can carry on the resilience in that way. But just copy-pasting the past won't cut it. We need to do some reinvention. So what could be the things, like looking forward? I guess if we say that the conversational web is the future, 3 things came to mind, like focusing on the dialogue. That's huge. That needs to be done. Of course, we need to design for individuals as we have done in the past, and also something for the robots as well. And I think we need to embrace the new. Looking forward and trying to find new ways, be innovative on the web. We have been, but a focus on that as well. The dialogue side, the interfaces, of course, they have turned, but on the web they are also turning into conversations. And when everybody has felt that, when you have the dialogue, when you have the conversation, then it's personal by default. And that is something that is super, super powerful in this context as well. And every site, every brand, every service will have a voice, meaning that it's going to be multimodal. You can talk to the sites, you can do that. It's technically possible, but we don't yet have it. But that's going to be quite a big a thing. And a bit funny, but that's going to happen. And as said, we are shifting from the graphic user interface to dialogue. How, when, what are the exact steps? Let's figure those out, but that's going to definitely happen. And when we are thinking that who we are designing these for, of course we are not designing the services for ourselves, but I think what we've been trying to do for the past 30 years is to actually create personalized experiences. Failed a bit at that, but the dialogue and the conversations, they create hyper-personalization. They are hyper-personalized in a sense by default, as said. And then what we can see from how we use ChatGPT, for instance, it's not just Googling anymore, it's going really deep. Like, I'm in this situation, I have this and this and much money, hey, how can you help? So we are coming with these expectations to our websites, so we need to cater to that. We need to cater to that hyper-personalized requests. And with the conversation, there's the intent. And I think this is the coolest part of the whole thing. We don't have to guess what the user is doing on the site, as we've done with analytics and all that. Let them tell us. And then with the first start of the conversation, they tell us about the intent, and then we need to cater to that. And of course, that's the agentic use. That's going to happen as well, but it won't be the only way of accessing the sites. There will be people going on sites as well. And embracing the new, I think that's how the web has stayed resilient, is embracing the new. I think I've sensed that all the vibe coding platforms and all that, all the people, all of us who are doing serious internet, you can have different views on it. So using platforms like Lovable, I think we should embrace that. as said, people are not the US teens or the teens of the world are not going creating sites on the internet. And this could be one of the, well, not a solution, but a way to make new generations, new kind of a people accessing, giving the tools and recreating the, for instance, what a site could be. Just, having fun, creating something, probably via mistakes, creating something new. I think we should kind of embrace this. Of course, kind of with another hat, you can't look past all the kind of all the security stuff and all that. But I think it's a kind of it could be a net positive thing to really look at trying hack out new ways, trying new stuff on these platforms. The Alexander Wang, who is the Gen Z AI superboy, this got my attention. That his prediction is that the next Bill Gates is nowadays the 30-year-old vibe coder who is trying out stuff with the tools, and that's something that kind of I also think that for the future web and how the web evolves, let's give it up for the 30-year-old vibe coders. They probably will come up with new ways that we haven't kind of already figured out what's the next stage of the web actually will be. So I'll grant a smiley face for that idea. So that's for me, that's the past, present, and future of the internet. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sami. I was thinking when you were kind of explaining of it, like, when was the last time you said wow to a website? And I went through the whole Adobe Flash. Well, actually, it was Macromedia Flash when I started. And of course, and that was a time. It couldn't last. We got mobile. We got accessibility was a thing, apparently.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that we went kind of through this phase where we could experiment, like how far we could take kind of like these weird, messed up UIs, UXs, and still have people use them and like them.
Yeah, and it was in campaign context, people made impossible sites to find out a small nugget, kind of the golden ticket in a campaign site. So it was so hard to use.
Absolutely.
that was the competition.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that hasn't been around for long. But I think that's that kind of still that image or that feel we could reproduce that.
Yeah.
As well.
It would be nice. We got some questions from the audience. First comment actually was in Finnish. Erittäin hyvä setämies muistelee materiaalia. Tee toinen setämies.
And the proper kind of wording is digisetä.
Another question, actual question. How do you think we should tackle AI content creation? The web is getting bloated with content that is made to be interesting, but not necessarily truthful.
Yeah, that is a good question. Of course, I think there are kind of forces around us, but what we could kind of, as a community of designers and doers, what we can do around it. I think we could inform our clients. We could be, not strict, but we can have a kind of a level of quality control ourselves. So when we are doing sites, when we are doing services, do we contribute to the bloat? I think that is a good question. And if we do, as a community, we say, hey, let's not do this. This is not viable. This is not kind of contributing to the common good. I think that has an effect. Of course, Google's and all those, they will do their share, but we can do our share. Just kind of create good services with good content that kind of caters to us and of course to agents and bots as well. But we have a say. We can do something about it.
Yeah. Good. What do you think that the web design for bots will look like? I mean, doesn't this mean that design will shift toward an approach where content is designed for bots, LLMs that scrape the sites? Isn't it quite worrying to think that AI will dilute the quality of information and content that is being created? How to prevent this sort of downwards spiral?
I think it is a really good question, and we don't have answers to that. But I think we are at the cusp of a bigger change. I think we've seen the kind of a graphic user interface for 30 years. I think that's going to change. And that's really going to change how we see design, how we see UX design, how we use the services. And that is going to be, I say, pretty dramatic in the kind of upcoming years. What does that entail? But I think still we are doing and designing and producing a lot of services. We could be the tastemakers. We could be the kind of quality controllers of that. And if we use only AI doing the things that we do, then we are kind of letting the control quality a bit go as well.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks. One more question here. Well, I think it's more of a statement, but maybe your take on this. It's hard to embrace the new with reduced budgets and analytics-based optimization, making every site look the same.
It is. It definitely. Right? It definitely is. And I think kind of I'm blaming myself also. I don't think we haven't done good enough a job to educating the kind of the clientele in a sense. We are kind of have given them the reins in a sense. Of course, budgets we know how for where we are in Finland, for instance, but we should kind of educate. We should kind of evangelize a bit, like, hey, what's the good design? What's the power of that? We should do that in unison, in a sense. We can change things, but we need to do that together as well.
Perfect. Sami, will you be around here in case someone wants to come up to you and ask some questions?
Yeah, let's share MySpace tips.
Come talk to Sami after. All right, thank you very much, Sami Häkkinen, everybody.